Yo! Today we're going to be talking about this ink, Edelstein. I absolutely love the bottle. I got this ink with a pen I purchased. It is by Pelikan, but this is their fancy ink called Edelstein. Edelstein being German for gemstone. It is amber, and according to Pelikan, I think this is ink of the year 2013. So they already know that this is the ink for 2013, which I think is quite cool. Now, in all honesty, I've been using this ink for quite a bit now, and I'm just cleaning the bottle a bit here. There was some ink there. In all honesty, I think this is a very nice ink. It's a nice color, it has nice shading, it flows well, it works well, it does everything it's supposed to do. So it's not bad. The only problem is they're not exactly cheap. But, you know, you get this really fancy glass bottle with a super thick bottom and all that stuff. I think it's pretty cool. So I want to tell you what this ink is all about. That's what I'm going to do next. We're going to do all the tests you have come to love and enjoy, and that's all there's to it. So I hope this is going to be useful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye. Alright, boys and girls, now that you're all sitting comfortably, we can begin. The ink today is Edelstein. Note the lovely wet flow in this flex pen. Amber. Vielleicht soll ich Amber sagen. Ist eine deutsche Tinte. Right, let's start with some fine writing. Flows well, really nice wet ink. I really love the way this performs. The name Amber is awfully well chosen. I think this is exactly what I think of when I think of amber. So we have a broad nib. We have italic. And finally, we have the flex. Whoops, dug into the paper there. Slight misalignment of the nib, my fault. The quick brown fox jumps. I think we should leave it at that. Don't want to bore you to death with this bad flex writing. Okay. So, first impressions. It's an amber ink. It has very decent shading. You see that in the somewhat broader nibs. Let me take my Tardif bosses here. You can see it there. Nice shading, nice wet broad nib. See it a bit in the italic nib. You definitely see it in the flex nib. I really like the way this ink performs so far. This is not the first time I use it, by the way. I've put it in a pen before this, but I like the way it flows well, it works well. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's do some passes. 1, 2, 3. Look at that lovely color. It reminds me a little bit of that orange scented ink I reviewed for the Inkcyclopedia quite a while ago by B.R.E, that has that sort of deep orange amber color. Alright, well maybe we should do us some fat writing so that we can try and erase that later. Sorry, I was just rearranging my desk a bit. Let us try to do the letter A. A, of course. For amber. Alright. We should also do a bit of medium writing. And what do I need? What do I need? Ah yes, I know what I need. Sorry, I'm getting old. It's dry. Nice. It's wet, and yet it dries quickly. What a lovely contradiction in inks. Alright, let's see what we've got here. Okay, I think this is dry. Yes, that is dry. Which means we can have a look at that very sad moment where we erase our writings with the bastard brush. Lovely, lovely effect. I think some artists could appreciate this. It gives you off a very nice shade, and yet the writing seems to remain relatively legible in some places. Not bad at all. Alright, having done that, I think we should have a look at that moment you've all been waiting for. The Tardif Test. Look at that. Okay. And in fact, while we are at it, we may as well go for the Brown benchmark. That's a lot of benchmark. I'm just talking along. What I'm doing right now is dipping my finger in a bit of water and then trying to dry it off a bit, because, you know, you end up with oddly colored fingers this way. Alright, so I think we are at the very moment where we can also do the eyedropper of death. And while that is doing its killing, I think we can have a look at that third pass. Yes, it is dry. Well, I wiped off the last bit a little bit, but the biggest part of it is dry. Alright. And while things are drying out here, I think we can start to work on our scorecard. Let me just grab a pen. There we go. Alright, so what have we got? We have got cleaning. Well, I have cleaned it from my Visconti Opera Crystal, which is a demonstrator, and it came out relatively easy. I'm not going to say it was the easiest to clean out, but it definitely wasn't the worst. I'm going to give it 2 out of 3. 1 being very easy to clean, 3 being very hard to clean. It may have to do with the fact that that pen cannot just be opened up very readily, but still, I think it's somewhere in between. Alright, then we have bleed through. That is something we'll have to assess. I can't write anymore. Bleed through. have to assess that when I've done the writing on the cheaper paper. We have the color. The color is, as far as I can see, amber. We have shading. 1 is excessive shading, 3 is no shading. Hard to say here. It definitely has shading, but I would say more than usual. I'm going to give this a 1 for it. That may be excessive shading. I mean, I consider that to be an ink where you really see the shading. You don't have to look hard for it. And I think if you look at this flex writing, you'll see what I'm talking about. This definitely jumps out a bit. It's more than just average shading, I would say. And since I only use a 3-point scale, I think I can give that a 1. Okay, then we have flow. And flow, I would say, is very good. I'm going to give that a 1 for absolutely wonderful flow. I've had no issues. Even in the flex pens, it just flows richly. There's no problems at all whatsoever. So I like that. Then there is the feathering. I have to judge that when I've used it on copier paper. There's drying time. Well, I would say drying time is very good, as you can see, even with these 6mm thing dashes. It's all very fast, which I appreciate, so I'm going to give that a score of 1. That is full marks. 3 is excessively long drying time, 2 is something in between. And finally, there is waterproofness. 1 would indicate that the ink was eradicated completely by the water. Is that no? Sorry, I'm trying to make a system where 1 is good. So 1 means that the reading is completely legible. 3 means it is completely eradicated by the water. And I think that what we're seeing here is 2. As you can see, writing the WR are completely gone. Bits of it are still legible. I think that's a fairly, something in between 2 out of 3 points. I'm going to get rid of this here. Look at that. If you put a lot of water on there, it's almost entirely gone. That's just a sort of weird shadow left of the writing. Maybe I should downgrade it a bit. If you really want to pour it in water, then apparently the ink is gone. If you just splash a bit of water over it, you may read it. I'm going to give it a 2. It's something in between. Alright. And then I think we should interpret some test results. So for the water, a little dodgy. The brown benchmark shows us that it has some nice darker brown in there. It has some true amber in there, a bit brownish. I enjoy that color. The Tardif Test sort of shows the same. It has something that is almost reddish right there. Not a reddish as in, cucumber reddish. No, I mean reddish as in reddish. It goes from that red to a much lighter, almost orangey amber. I would say it's true amber. If you ever had an amber stone, it's kind of this color you see, I think. So pretty nice. I'm very happy with this ink. Okay, I'm going to tear off this bit of paper. The brown benchmark bit is getting more interesting by the day. I'm grabbing some copier paper, and we're going to see what havoc we can create here. Just closing up the ink bottle there for a second. It makes me a little paranoid. Alright. There was ink on my finger/bottle. How could that be? I only dipped my finger in here and just turn that around. There we go. Got us some fine writing. The ink of the year. Medium, broad nibbage. Italic. and maybe we should do a little bit of sort of calligraphy thing. I know what I'm going to do. P for Professor Tarquin Danglebury. And then I want some really fat, juicy, flexy writing. There we get the railroading. This was really pushing the pen hard. If I slow down a bit more, I think I can make it write better. That was quite fast and it still kept flowing, so that's good. Alright. So, what can we deduce from all of this? I see no feathering in any of this. Maybe just a little bit there, but that's very minimal. I see no real feathering in this very fat writing apart from the little bit there, and that is very minimal too. And in the super wet flexy writing on copier paper I do see feathering. But I'm assuming that if you would be doing this amount of flex you would not be using copier paper. But the ink can feather, but it really has to be pushed hard for that. So, if we are finishing up our scorecard, which we are, oh, bleed through. Yeah, that's a good one to check too. I don't see any bleed through apart from this obvious spot, but that's the brown benchmark, so we can't take that too seriously. For regular writing, even broad, I don't see any bleed through. On the copier paper, I do see a bit of bleed through. And that is, even in the fine writing, I see a bit of bleed, although that may be shade through, shading, but I do seem to see some bleed through. With medium, with broad, with italic, not extremely pronounced, but it is there. With flexi writing it's definitely pronounced, and with fat writing it also is very pronounced. So clearly, I mean, this is always a matter of which paper do you use. I'm going to, for bleed through, I'm going to give it a 2, so a middle score, 1 being no bleed through, 3 being excessive bleed through. It's something in between, although it depends on the paper, as you know, that's normal and sensible, I suppose. Finally, feathering. Well, it's so little, I'm going to give it full marks on that. So, I guess the lower the score, the better it is, to the extent that little cleaning equals a 1, little bleed through equals a 1, a lot of shading equals a 1, a good flow equals 1, feathering, little feathering equals 1, short drying time equals a 1, and waterproofness, complete waterproofness equals a 1. So what I'm seeing here is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Total inkage score is 10, and I think that's not bad at all. Maximum score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 would be 7. So it's pretty good, pretty good. Okay, so finally I would like to do a bit of a comparison with this ink and another ink. Let me first do a bit of writing with that, this very ink. So here we have this Pelikan. I was just going to say something about this not railroading in a flex pen, and then it railroaded. So here we have the Pelikan Amber. And then I'm going to compare it to something else. Let me just check if I get any ink flow. Yes, I do. It's not exactly the same ink, but it reminded me of this ink. What we have here is B.R.E. Oh yeah, we immediately get railroading. B.R.E.
and this is Amber. De Birmanie. Birmanie, I put a dot there, it should have been there. Doesn't really matter. Amber de Birmanie is browner. It's more of a, now maybe brown is not the word, it's more like almost like a golden ink. It's very hard to describe this color. But it has the same sort of shading tendency and the same sort of, well, generally speaking, the same sort of behavior, except I think it's maybe a little less, has somewhat less optimal flow than this Pelikan Amber. Pelikan, of course, it's Edelstein, Entschuldigung. But still, I think both are very nice, interesting inks. And that's all there's to it. So, I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later.